Hey guys, I'm gonna attempt to make a video here to show a little bit, a few pointers for cutting a little bit bigger timber, double cutting. Move down into a bottom and there's quite a lot of some big timber down in here. That's some big stuff. But anyways, that one, I don't know. I don't have a tape on me. I'm gonna say that one's pretty close to, I don't know, probably close to 30 inches on the down low. You could almost get through it one cut. But I don't like cutting single cut, even though I can get through it. I like to double cut because it's safer for the tree and safer for the bar. You have less room for error when you double cut. Now, I'm not gonna cut that tree. That's a big tree there. Being just wide oak, if it was a poplar or gum, I'd cut it. But being just a wide oak, I don't know, I think technically maybe a chestnut or something, but swamp chestnut. But yeah, I'm not gonna cut that one. That's a big tree. But anyways, what I like to do, I like to double cut because you can get halfway through your tree on the one side, or maybe not halfway, and then you can turn loose of it and come to the back and cut it, and you get halfway through that tree, it'll pop. I mean, when your cuts meet, it'll pop. You'll feel it pop when it meets the other cut, and then you can just turn loose of it, and your bar will come back, and you can be grabbing for another tree while that one's falling. But if you single cut, you got to cut all the way out, all the way to the edge right there, bam. And then that tree, that's a big heavy tree, will sit down on your bar, and you've either got to push it off the stump kind of forward, and your bar's pinched that whole time, or you just kind of hang around and see what happens on a tree that you can't pick up. Now, if it's a tree you can pick up, then yeah, you can pick it up off stump, single cut it and pick it up, and it works. And pine, I hardly ever double cut big pine. They're not a real high quality or high dollar tree, so if it peels just a little, it ain't the end of the world. But on a white oak, you don't want to do that. So yeah, I'll see if I can set this up and get a couple shots of it. And this sand gets in this moss or dirt or something, gets in the moss on these trees, so it's killing my chains. Which I'm glad I'm running 3/4 chain, because I think that 404 would get dull quite a bit quicker. So my chain ain't cutting the greatest, but it's cutting, so we'll see what it'll do. Okay, I'd say I got a little over halfway through that one. And one thing I do sometimes is to kind of match up your cuts down there. That's your head. That mark there is off the top of your head. Those teeth make that mark. And a lot of times I'll cut sideways, so I'll sit right here and I'll cut in this side setting sideways, and then I'll spin my head to the other side and I'll cut in this way sideways, and then I can tell where my mark is front and back. So I do that a lot. Okay, now I'm gonna cut that one a single pass. That one's, oh, that's probably about 20, man, I don't know. That one widest side is probably 25 inches. And I'll do that a single cut. And you can see what I'm talking about. It'll probably peel just a little bit in the way the bar gets pinched, but we'll see. Hopefully you can hear me. Saw hand over here topping. Okay, I grabbed the tape to see if I'd lying to y'all. Keeps moving. It's somewhere right around 29 and a half to 30 outside the bark on that double cut one. And this single cut one, let's see here. It's about the same. It's a little bit smaller. It's about right at 29. So they were about 30-inch trees. And then this is the big one. The saw hand cut it for me. See how big that is all the way across. The widest part there is about 45 inches. So yeah, I wasn't gonna risk it on that big wide oak. Okay, I'm gonna attempt to show you how to cut, how I cut 3 times with the bale. It's a pretty big ash tree, I believe it is. We're down in a swamp. Man, these trees look so different in these swamps. Look so different. But yeah, what I'll do is it's wanting to fall right over there. So what I'm gonna do, that'll be my front cut here, and obviously come in the back and cut it, but it's too big. I don't think my bar is gonna reach through it. And so I've got to notch it just a little bit to get my bar to fit all the way through it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to notch out this side here. It'll be on the side. I'm going to try to notch that out where my tip got a little more room to go. And also then when I come from the other side, my head might sit up in there a little farther. So we'll see how it goes. This is how I do it. It don't always work, and it takes a lot of time sometimes. So I don't do it much, but I just want to show that it can be done. So that's not a huge tree. a 34-inch tree. But taking that little notch of wood out helped me get a little farther in there. And the reason I do that is the 3/4 bar and chain, it don't like to bore cut quite like the 404 chains and bar does. So you've kind of got to keep your bar tip to the outside of the tree, or it don't want to cut real good. That was rotten. I still peeled it a little bit. I didn't bring my head around far enough. Yeah, I peeled her off. But anyways, it ain't much of a wedge or a notch. It ain't much. But you wouldn't believe how much that helps get the tree moving when you get that gap in there. Two of the main tips I would think that were pretty useful if you're having trouble double cutting or wanting to learn a little bit if you just don't know. It's common sense, but it also, you can also mess up and not realize what it is too. So a lot of you probably already know this, but for those of you that don't, say this is my first cut. I come in, I cut, and then I come around the back and I cut lower than my first cut. Now what happens is, so that's your bell bar, and you cut in. Well, when those cuts meet, that tree is going to pop, and that's going to break, and the tree is going to start falling. Well, if you're holding on to that tree with your head, and your bar's still out, you can imagine as the tree's falling, the bar's staying in the stump. And obviously it's going to twist your bar because your bar is not able to tilt over with the tree because it's in this stump. And a lot of times they'll cut like a little groove like that, or even farther in, and so it just wedges it. So you want to make sure when you double cut that you either cut the same height as the first cut or go a little higher. And then if it pops, your bar is above the stump, if that makes sense, and it'll just go over with the tree. Okay, this is just to try to make a simple illustration to make sense on how to get your cuts to line up. So this red area here, that's our first cut. It obviously stops right there. And I've had trouble when I was learning, leaving a piece of wood here that didn't get cut. And I actually had a friend ask me about it when he was learning too. So what happens is, when you get your first cut finished, you come around to the back, and this is supposed to be a bar, and this will be our pivot point, is where our saw motor is in the pivot area where the bar mounts. So you can imagine if you cut in right here, your cuts meet most of the way, but you still got that piece of wood. Well, in order to cover that, your saw has to cut way over here to get all of that. And so what you have to do, obviously the bar isn't going to pivot that far. So what you have to do is actually take and move your head farther around the tree. And what I do is I try to make sure my saw motor, say that screw, is sitting about right where that cut ended, the first cut stopped. That's about where I like to swing my head around and grab on, and to have my saw motor sitting right there where the first cut stopped. And so I move my pivot point, say I move my head farther around the tree, right up to where the first cut stops. And you can see then your bar would swing out and it would cover everything. You wouldn't have any wood left hanging. Now, you can leave wood hanging if you need to, just like with a chainsaw, to swing your tree left or right by which way you pivot. You know, say from here, if you want to leave some wood here, you could cut in and leave a little there. Or the same way, move your pivot point back to here and leave some hanging there if you want to swing it. But you want to make sure you don't leave too much or you'll mess your tree up.